I was. Hey, Karen, are you there? I wonder if Bob's getting off the boat.
She's on mute. Even if
Yeah.
she is there, she's not gonna say anything.
Hey, Karen, unmute.
I'm here.
Oh, good. Hi. Oh, yay. That works.
Sorry about that.
And there's no,
It's like back.
there's no echo, as long as there's no echo. Did you text Bob?
Bob is getting off for today.
He's getting off the boat. Okay.
I think you're.
So without him,
Not for everything.
can we do minutes? Can we do, you need continuance? Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the October meeting of the Zoning Board of Review. I'm Kate Atwater Butcher, the chair. We have Jen Brady, our zoning official, and Sally Broussard, our stenographer. I'll let the rest of the board introduce themselves.
Robert Closter.
Judith Zernak.
Susan Bush.
Mark McGuire.
And Robert Lamoureux will be joining us in about 5 minutes. So we'll just go ahead with continuances while we wait for him. The first public hearing scheduled for this evening that's requesting a continuance is 1167 Graces Cove Road LLC, Plat 19, Lot 72-1, fire number 1167 Graces Cove Road, application by David J. Beck and Deirdre E. Beck for a special use permit under section 513D, 306E, 401 to convert an accessory residential structure into an accessory dwelling unit. They are requesting a continuance until November 19th, 16th. I'll make a motion to schedule that for the November 16th meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. And then Blue Dory Resorts, Inc., Plat 6, Lot 140, fire number 61 Dodge Street, application by Ann Law for a variance from section 113 for construction of a dormer to add life safety stair improvement. And they are requesting a continuance to November 16th, or they have it January.
The date, but it's January.
Okay. They've requested a continuance to the January 24th meeting. Make a motion to schedule that for January 24th. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Do you want me to do? Can we do housing board without Bob? Was everybody here for that?
Mark is not part.
Mark, you were not part of it, were you? Oh, okay.
So, I think.
Okay. Okay, and then we need Kenny, and everybody for Kenny.
Take a
5-minute break?
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'll make a motion to take a 5-minute break until we receive our other member. Second. Is he pulling in now? Okay. We'll just stand by, everybody. Okay, you did great.
That's fast.
Okay. All right, so the first and only hearing of the evening is Mark McGuire and Linda Jackson, Plat 11, Lot 10-2. Fire number 778, Mitchell Lane, application for a variance from section 306C for side setback relief and for a special use permit under Article 3. Section 306E and Article 4, Sections 401 and 406 to demolish an existing single-family dwelling and replace it with a larger single-family dwelling.
Good evening, Joseph Priestley representing Mark and Linda McGuire. I'd like to. According to section 406G of your ordinance.
Okay, applicants exhibit, you don't need it, or, okay, okay.
I'm just gonna refer to the line.
Is this in reference to the planning board's decision? Okay.
The application is for a special use permit to construct a new house, just 47 square feet over the 2,000 square foot threshold in this for the larger houses in the zoning ordinance. It's being constructed in essentially the same location as the existing house, which has a foundation which cannot be saved. The proposed new house and existing house both have 4 bedrooms, and the application does require a sideline variance, although the house is not moving any closer to the sideline than the existing house, it's still within 37.5 feet. That has been recommended by the planning board. Both the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board have issued favorable advisory opinions for the project as designed and presented, though the Planning Board has expressed some concern about the proposed deck above the first floor, which I would like to address. The wording of your ordinance in respect to decks above the first floor on houses, which require approval under section 406, is set forth in section 406G4, which I've given you, and is very specific. It states that any elevated deck above the first floor is anchored so that there are at least 2 walls of the building bordering the deck. In no case shall the total area of an elevated deck exceed 1,200 square feet. It does not say any deck above the first floor is anchored so that there are at least 2 walls of the building bordering the deck. The word elevated is carefully chosen, and its use directly implies that not all decks above the first floor are elevated decks. If this were the case, the word elevated would not be needed, would have been superfluous and would not have been used. You will see 3 decks above the first floor in this proposal, and they're described pretty clearly on sheet A22 of the architectural plans as east deck, south deck, and west deck. None of them individually exceeds 1,200 square feet in area, and in fact, the 3 of them don't exceed 1,200 square feet in area. The main issue, as we see it, is that none of these decks is an elevated deck. The east and south decks both are set into the roof of the house so that the roof extends beyond them. The west deck is built on top of a flat roof and is not elevated. None of them are elevated or freestanding as they would be as if they had poles holding them up or a cantilever. They're all sitting focused into the house. We do not believe any of them are elevated decks. Mr. Horrigan will testify to that. You'll also see exterior retaining walls built in part in conjunction with the walkout basement. Section 306E of the ordinance requires a special use permit for any retaining wall constructed of concrete, metal, fiberglass, or other similarly manufactured material that is in excess of 5 feet in length, exclusive of a retaining wall associated with a walkout basement. Mr. and Ms. McGuire and Ms. Jackson are proposing retaining walls made only of stone and timber. They're not made of any manufactured material. They're partially, but not entirely associated with a walkout basement. But because of their structure of stone and timber alone, they do not require a special use permit. Section 406B5 of the zoning ordinance addresses special use permits requirement for certain retaining walls and states that any retaining wall constructed of metal, concrete, fiberglass, or other similarly manufactured material that is in excess of 5 length and height and or 15 in length necessary for the siting construction of the building requires a special use permit. But it continues, retaining walls constructed only of stone or timber or associated with a walkout basement for a total length not to exceed 20 feet on either side of the walkout are excluded from this category. In other words, retaining walls constructed solely of wood and timber of stone and timber, excuse me, do not require a special use permit. You will hear testimony that these walls are constructed entirely of stone and timber. Before I call Rob Horrigan to describe the project, I'd like to put a few documents into record.
Is it exhibit one, what, no, this is, do you want this to be, okay. He doesn't want to submit this.
Exhibit one is the zoning board decision in book 546, page 112. You got, I have copies for you if you want.
Is this already, do we have this?
You already have it.
It's already in the file. Does anybody want to see our zoning decision? That was for the barn, right, or the garage?
Second is the zoning modification permit recorded in book 509 at page 227. In conjunction with a enlarged shower enclosure and deck connected with 37.6 feet of the western property line.
You have, Jen, you want to mark this one? I got everyone.
And the next one is basically a survey, an aerial survey and 200-foot radius.
This is 4. 3 applicants, exhibit 3 is a survey, is the radius 400 foot,
200-foot radius.
200 foot, and is that what that says? 200 foot radius of butters. Sorry. You have it.
Applicants 4 is the zoning plan review form filed with the filed with the application.
Exhibit 4 is the zoning plan review application calculations. Yeah.
Five, and we have one copy of this, the planning board advisory opinion.
Okay, everybody received that today?
Yeah.
Okay, 5 is the advisory from the planning board.
6 I don't have, but it's the conservation commission advisory opinion.
Kate, you have it. It's in the front of the file.
6 would be the conservation's advisory. I didn't read it yet.
There was, the board, the planning board did raise it very well.
The stipulation with the stone only and the deck.
Yes, we did. With that, I'd like to call my first witness and my only witness, Rob Horrigan. Rob, would you please state your name? Oh,
Does Judith, give her Judith this one. This one.
Kate.
Sorry. Karen, can you swear in the witness?
Yes. Absolutely. Could you raise your right hand?
Raise your right.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth during the course of this hearing.
I do.
Thank you.
Can you just make sure the green light on?
It's on. Yeah, I just turned it on. Can you hear me?
Or you can
that-
switch it up so it's closer to you.
How's that?
Perfect.
Good? All right. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Rob Horrigan.
Hi, Rob.
Mr. Horrigan, what's your occupation?
Co-owner of Horgan Builders, the design and build company,
And how long have you been designing, building and building houses?
over 20 years.
During your 20 years experience on projects of this nature, do you work with engineers and surveyors?
Nonstop. Yeah.
Yeah. And have you become competent in reading survey plans?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And did you work with Ken Cole of Atlas Land Surveying on this project?
I did.
And let me show you a plan entitled Survey Site Development Plan by Atlas Land Surveying dated May 2023. You familiar with this plan?
Yep.
Is it the plan of the existing and proposed conditions on the site?
Yes, it is. Keep on.
Yeah,
Applicant 7 is a site plan with existing and proposed date by Atlas Engineering dated May 2023.
Are there conditions on this site which limit and restrict areas which can be developed?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And what are they?
You have the river and the riverbank. So the wetland area on the east side of the property. The existing OWTS on the east side that's also being incorporated into this new plan. The existing well, and also probably the biggest one, the steep topography that slopes down to the south.
And does the riverbank wetland perimeter essentially include all of that steep topography?
Yeah, yep.
So
I did, you're required, there's a 100-foot buffer zone.
So is there any location on the site where you could build the house except where it currently exists?
No, no.
You mentioned an OWTS. You're using an existing OWTS, which was approved in 1999. Is that correct?
Correct.
I've got a certificate of conformance for plat 11 lot 10-2 to Howard Ballard on May 20, 1999. Got the certificate of conformance for the septic system you're using?
Yep.
Is that a 4-bedroom OWTS?
Yep.
CO 8, applicant's 8 is a certificate of conformance dated May 20th, 1999.
Would you please explain for the board how you, Mr. McGuire and Ms. Jackson approached this project?
Yeah, I think, from the beginning, they were going to try and save the home, but it really, just looking at the existing house that was there and the foundation that was below it, we had a structural engineer that I work with on a regular basis out there. He looked at the house too, and just wasn't worth the investment building a new house, renovating this house and adding on to it. And so we all decided it was time for this house to come down and really to build something new in its place. And I think from the beginning, the whole idea was to really kind of rebuild what was there and not go much bigger, really like work, it's a pretty unique lot. There's a ton of topography there. It really drops off. And I think you really have to design something that's site specific. So, I think that's really from the beginning, they've wanted something low lying. They challenged me from the beginning that they wanted something that. Yeah, from the beginning, they kind of challenged me. I remember in the beginning, they asked me, they wanted to kind of make this building appear small, as similar as possible to the existing building. They didn't want something big and tall and out of the ordinary in this lot. So I think we did our best to keep it where the existing house was and work with the topography.
And I'd like to show you a series of 8 photographs, and if you could identify these photos.
This is the existing north elevation.
Look at 8 different elevations, is that correct?
What's that?
The 8 different elevations,
Okay,
and are those the picture of the existing house?
this is the existing house.
Applicants 9.
Yes.
9 is existing photographs. Photographs of the existing house.
You can see when you look at the pictures too, it had been added on to over the years and they tried to match roof lines and they didn't. And
Up, down.
yeah, there's just, it's a tired house.
And then as a result of this, did you prepare a series of plans entitled McGuire Jackson Residence, Mitchell Lane, Block Island, Rhode Island, dated 6/1/2023?
Yep,
And did you also prepare renderings of the house shown on this plan?
yes, I did.
And your architectural plans?
Yes,
These your renderings?
you got it.
Architectural plan dated June 1.
10 is our architectural plans dated June 1st, 2023 by Horrigan Builders.
11 undated renderings prepared at home.
11 is undated drawings. So what does he call this? This is
Renderings,
Sorry.
yep.
Pretty.
Designing the house, Mr. Organ, did you take into account section 306 of the zoning ordinance, which addresses houses which exceed certain threshold dimensions? Section 406, which sets out the parameters for special use permit for such houses, and section 514, which provides performance standards for the houses.
Yes, I did.
Did you direct Peter L. Sandoris, a Rhode Island registered architect, to make certain required square footage calculations for the project?
Yes,
Are these his calculations?
yes.
12 are the engineering calculations.
McGuire Jackson residence square footage calculation by Peter L. Sandoris, registered Rhode Island architect, and dated 9/21/23.
This is a really good way to do it. This is how you.
Does the house you've designed satisfy all the performance standards set out in section 514 of the ordinance?
Yes, it does.
We're referring to your plans. Would you please describe for the zoning board the house you've designed, its compatibility with the surrounding area, and its consistency with the requirements of the zoning ordinance?
Yeah, I think what we designed is a very traditional Block Island style home, in my opinion. It's all cedar siding, cedar roof mixed with copper standing seam roof in some areas. I mean, all the stonework, the chimney, the retaining walls that are needed to make the walkout basement happen. Really, the whole property is surrounded by these natural stone walls, and I think it's just going to really tie in beautifully with them. I think like I said before, I think the biggest thing was working with the site on this job. I mean, it just drops off. I mean, it's a really unique site, and I think it's going to make for a really unique project at the end of the day. But I think, we really kind of carved into the hill versus like you have to work with what you have out here. It's not, I do a lot of building on the mainland and you can truck in material and you can truck stuff out all day long, but it's like, got to kind of carve in and use what you have. And I think what we've created on the south side is going to be kind of this like sunken outdoor space that's really just going to be visible from the property itself. So I think, I think that, I know we follow, we spent countless hours going through all the requirements in the ordinance, just making sure we're following everything. So I think that's pretty much sums it up.
While designing it, were you aware of the provision of the ordinance related to elevated decks above the first floor, which I addressed with the board?
Yes, we talked about it. Oh, I mean,
And,
second level decks were important on this job.
and did you design the decks specifically so they would not be elevated?
Yes. Correct.
But the language of the ordinance doesn't say elevated decks. It says elevated decks above the first floor. So if you meant any deck above the first floor, it wouldn't have had to say elevated, it would just say decks. No, I'm saying it's above the first floor, but because it's flat on the roof or set into the roof, it's not, as opposed to being.
So it's
held
not
on-
cantilevered.
Not cantilevered or held on posts, it's not elevated. It is a deck above the first floor, but it's not an elevated deck above the first.
The zoning ordinance does not have a definition of element. I just looked.
I didn't find one. No,
I'm just going on.
Mhm.
Higher than this ground.
but it says, but if that were the case.
Hey, listen, this is important.
The word elevated is completely redundant. All it would have to say is any deck above the first floor. Because these are decks above the first floor. What we're saying is because they sit on a flat roof or set into the roof of the structure, they are decks above the first floor, but not elevated decks above the first floor. Because our position, a cantilever deck above the first floor would be an elevated deck because there's nothing beneath it that's part of the main house structure. Similarly, a deck set on posts above the first floor would be an elevated deck. These aren't, because one is sitting flat on the floor of the building within the footprint of the building, and the other two are sitting within the roof and within the footprint of the building, and are not hanging free, so to speak.
I would tend to, I'm surprised you're using the word deck, because I would tend to call those porches up top. Porches or balconies, I have the same thing in my house, they're integral into the house, these are inserted into the house.
And
The floor below is.
The structure.
Is part of the structure.
and we agree, that's essentially our position.
The on the west side, they're both going to have rubber underneath them. Yeah. Yep.
I would call those porches actually, or balconies.
And we don't disagree. We're just trying to use the language of the ordinance, but I agree with you. Whatever it is, we don't think that they are what was considered elevated decks above the first floor.
Where's that decision?
At their meeting, at the meeting we had, though it's not reflected in their opinion, they indicated that they didn't have a real problem with the ones that are set in the roof line. But they had a question for you about the one that's set on the flat roof. They wanted you to address that.
And that's the one on the
East side, I think.
West side.
west side? Oh, I see the west deck.
Yes, that one.
And there's structure, I got you.
Yeah, the mudroom entry
This
is
is the
below
one,
that.
and this is the section that's encroaching on in the setback.
That's within the setback, yes.
Correct.
Okay.
In your design, were you also familiar with the provisions of the zoning ordinance related to stone wall, to retaining walls?
Yes.
And how does your design address this?
You have a question?
Oh,
No.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're all native stone. I mean, I think that's the biggest point here. We're trying to make this look natural out there. It's all native stone. And I mean, there's really not much retaining wall. It's a lot of stone wall when you actually study the plan. Just for aesthetics.
Did, can I go back to the deck for a little bit? Did the planning board suggest what you do with that flat roof?
No, they recommended an approval of the project.
No, I get that.
They raised it as a question. That was it. They didn't suggest changing it. They
I mean-
didn't suggest removing, they suggested
I
nothing.
think what makes a flat roof look better is actually, in my
Well,
opinion,
and
a
again,
deck.
Again, it's sitting flat on the roof. It's not up on 6-foot stills above the roof.
Yeah, so they approved it, except the exception of
Right.
that deck going against 406.
Right. But I don't, yeah,
It's
okay.
a following conditions, they don't state in.
Can I follow up with the retaining walls?
Yeah.
They, the planning board stipulated that it should only be a stone. If you're looking, earlier, you opened up a stone and timber.
That was reciting the ordinance, which allows stone and timbers, but Rob probably
They're-
addressed that.
They're not, there's not gonna be any timber in there. No, it's stone and the long lengths of them are interrupted by steps coming through them, you know, and
It's all stone. so
No.
I'm curious what's the-
yeah. No timber.
Do you think this house is appropriate for this site?
Yes, I mean, I think already mentioned that.
And is it compatible with adjacent buildings in form, placement, and design?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's using a lot of the same material, if not all the same materials as the surrounding houses.
Does it relate harmoniously to the terrain? I think you've addressed that also.
Oh, yes, yes.
Will it have any negative effects on island or neighborhood character?
No.
Will it
Definitely.
adversely affect the physical and visual pattern of land use in the area where it's located?
No,
Will it have any effect on that visual pattern of land use at all?
I don't see why it would.
In designing the proposal, have you been careful to preserve the natural environment of the existing skyline as viewed across Mr. McGuire and Ms. Jackson's property?
Yes, I mean, the existing building and the proposed building, I think there's a difference of like 3 or 4 feet in the average height. So it's in the same spot.
In your planning for the property, does it propose a minimum of vegetation and soil removal?
Yes.
And you propose to retain most existing vegetation?
Yep.
Does it keep any grade changes in conformance with the visual impact on the visual effects of the area?
Yeah. Yeah.
And will your lighting plan comply with the new Shoreham zoning ordinance?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Unless the board has any more questions, I have no more questions from Mr. Horgan.
I have some questions.
Sure.
I just have to remember what they are. Where's my site plan? How much? Does where the porch or the deck that they're calling it, that bump out on the, I'm upside down now, that's the west, on the west side. Is it the same size? Is the encroachment the same? Or is it a little, I can't quite read this.
Is the encroachment the same?
Are we
Yeah,
getting
on
any,
the setback.
are we getting any closer to the
No.
western boundary line than the existing house?
No, no.
Okay. Was there anything that you could do in the design to bring it more into conformance?
No, because of the existing septic system. We're as close as we can possibly get to that existing septic system.
Okay.
We're moving the tank. We're keeping the field. And the tank really can't go, I mean, just because of the topography, because of the topography and the well, there's really only one spot it can go.
Mhm.
Where are you moving the tank to?
Just kind of off the southeast corner of the proposed dwelling. In the site, you looking on the site plan?
We're reading it upside down.
Ah. If you,
It flows better upside down.
it's right next to the
Okay,
field.
yeah, got it. Anybody else have any other questions?
I didn't read this carefully enough to know whether it became more strict in the language that the planning board has suggested. Compared to the ordinance. Anybody?
I think we can say that we're going to do
I
the
think we
minimum
addressed that.
amount of lighting necessary to provide safe walking across the property and no more. And if you wanted to make that a condition of your decision, we could live with that. But
I don't know how you define that. Yeah,
I'm not sure we want anything, more.
and what we recommended to the planning, what we said to the planning board was that we would do according to the ordinance, and they didn't suggest anything else.
I think that that's adequate. I mean, it's, the ordinance is established for lighting.
And they're not asking.
They're not asking for, we've never seen anybody ask for a variance on it.
Start spelling out.
Right, right. Anybody else? Any further questions? Anybody?
And I would like to state that regarding the variance on site, two things. One, it was recommended by the planning board, which was required in the ordinance, but the rules have now been, the rules for special use permits have now been changed by the state of Rhode Island. I thought it went into effect, not yet?
Yeah.
January, I thought it went into effect in June.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Don't even go there. Don't even confuse us.
I won't go there.
I don't want to hear it. I don't know. Okay, this is a public hearing. I don't think there's anybody in the public that wants to speak. I will take this matter under advisement and make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So we can have a discussion about this while we're fresh. We want to talk. No, this isn't the exhibit. She hasn't. This isn't, no, this is an extra. So I don't have an issue with this. I think that they've done a great job in minimizing the impact. The property is incredibly difficult to develop. As for the deck, I buy Joe's argument. And I think that I get what the intent. We get into that intent, what the intent is. We weren't there when they wrote it, so, but you don't want to see an elevated deck with the, that they used to build in the 70s and 80s out here with just, yeah, just so, so that's, you get kind of where they probably were coming from when they wrote that, to avoid that. And I think this is not that at all.
Yeah, I don't know where somebody started calling it a deck.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
And I think the planning board was just, being very, very cautious and
Yes.
having a lot of discussion, so. But I don't have an issue with it. Anything else?
No.
Hmm?
Fine.
You want to take it? This is a good one, because it's a good, if you haven't written a lot of special use permits, this is a good one. Okay, great. Stab away. That we have two decisions.
I was gonna.
We have two decisions. We have Kenny and Block Island Housing Board. I think someone has draft. Okay. I'm recused on it, so. Sure, go ahead.
I move to approve the application for Robert and I have 454 for a variance concession. 113C1 and 313C, the construction of the second floor on the existing building. Section 411, residential mixed use. The motion is based on the following findings of fact. One, the property is identified as a section 6, lot 35, and is located entirely within the service commercial zoning district. Clearly, the property has a prior existing use of automotive repair, which was established in 1933 and prior to the adoption of the town zoning law. 3, the existing automotive service building on the property is non-conforming by location and has been in the same location since it was originally constructed in 1933. 4, the lot is a substandard lot of record, triangular in shape, and in the lot area of 10 square feet. 5, the existing footprint is 11,382 square feet and by state standards considered small lot. 6, therefore, the apartment includes the unique characteristics of the subject land and structure. 7, to relieve the applicant seeks does not result in prior action by the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire of the applicant to realize greater financial gain. It would be more than a mere inconvenience to use the current setback of 25 feet in front, 25 feet in side, and 50 feet in the rear. 8, the granting of the requested variance will not alter the general character of the neighborhood, which includes 2-story mixed-use buildings found in the area, or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan. 9, based on the site plans and the location of the existing structure, the requested variance is the least relief necessary to remove the hardship to the applicant. The approval is subject to the following conditions. 1, DPR approval from planning is required. Any substantial change in the result of that process has to come back to the zoning board. 2, need water certificate from the town of East Forum. 3, parking calculations must be approved by the zoning officer. 4, survey plans must delineate open avenues as a state road with a length of 30 feet and show that proposed parking does not extend into the state road. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
So with, pay-per-views is not voting. Anyone, someone missed the meeting. I think. Okay.
So we have before. Yeah.
Jen, mark this as 5. Five went missing, unless you have it in there. Is that number 5 that you got right? Mr.? Sorry. So it was. I got it right now. I'm just making sure we have all the exhibits in order for for the last hearing, because they were kind of handing it. He was handing us a lot of papers and they were getting kind of long. They're all there. Okay. I have some notes on Block Island housing. I think, yeah, you weren't here for it, so. Oh, you're on the housing board, so you get out. And you weren't here. You're excused. Okay. Okay. I move to approve the application of the Block Island Housing Board Plat 18 Lot 2-3 for a special use permit under Section 405 Affordable Housing for the construction of 8 duplex structures on the West Side Road, Plat 18 Lot 2-3, creating a total of 16 rental units restricted to year-round residents. This decision is based on the following findings of fact. The subject property is located in the New Harbor Commercial Zone. The lot is 80,097 square feet in size. 20,000 square feet is required in the New Harbor Commercial Zone. Section 405 of the zoning ordinance permits the reduction of lot sizes and the increase of residential density for affordable housing units sponsored by the Block Island Housing Board. The residential density on the parcel was calculated and provided by the town to determine the number of units permitted under Section 405. The proposed development does not exceed 16 units. The applicant is not seeking any dimensional relief. Number 4, the proposed use is appropriate for the specific site. Excuse me. 5, the proposed use as developed will not adversely affect the established physical and visual pattern of land use. The proposed use, number 6, the proposed use will not cause a nuisance or serious hazard to pedestrians or vehicles and their users. Number 7, the proposed uses and structures will not cause a degradation of the quality of surface or groundwater. 8, the property is adjacent to other high-density residential housing developments and will therefore be compatible with neighboring land use. Number 9, adequate and appropriate infrastructure, including town sewer and water, will be provided. Number 10, there will be no negative impact on important natural resources, and the project is environmentally sustainable as set forth in section 405 G2. 11, the use is consistent with the purposes and goals of the zoning ordinance and objectives of the town of New Shore comprehensive plan, and particularly the housing element. The comprehensive plan stresses the need for affordable housing in the community. Number 12, concerns regarding drainage, water quality and protection, traffic and access, waste disposal, utilities, natural resources, and cultural assets have been adequately addressed, and parking commensurate with projected needs as has been provided on site, including the minimum of 2 spaces per dwelling unit. Number 13, the planning board issued a favorable advisory to the zoning board of review and the proposed special unit and for the proposed special use permit and for development plan of review. Number 14, the proposed project will conform to section 202, which defines affordable housing as residential housing built or set aside for year-round habitation for sale or rent, affordable to households whose adjusted gross income is less than 140% of the area median income, adjusted for family size, based on applicable United States Department of Housing and Urban Development schedules. And number 15, each of the 8 buildings are to contain 2 two-bedroom units of 1,066 square feet per unit, which does not exceed the maximum of 1,200 square feet of habitable space. This decision is subject to the following stipulations. Construction will be substantially in accordance with the site plan and architectural plan submitted. All vehicles accessing the property shall be parked on the property. The applicant must provide additional parking for guest vehicles and additional expected vehicle ownership on the property. The driveway road will be constructed in strict conformance with the plan submitted. And number 4, the affordable housing units are to be duly deeded restricted as to remain permanently affordable to the extent permitted by applicable law, but in no event less than 99 years, including a suitable mechanism for monitoring the long-term affordability of the units.
Second.
Discussion? So we added the parking. There, a little concern of mine was that, and I think this allows for it, is that if they chose to sell the units versus rent them, they're still deeded affordable. Because I think that's something that's important as times change and needs change, that they don't have to come back to us for every little nuance of whatever. I think this is an important issue, an important step, and I think they've done their job. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. You have that. Did she CC you back? If not, I'll email it to you in the morning. Okay, I'll make, oh, no, we have minutes. Which was 2-year.
Yes, the 2-year thing.
I wasn't sure.
We
Yes.
said 2-year.
We
We
said
voted on 2-year. We voted on 2. That was the change from us. It was 2-year.
Yeah, 'cause I read that today and I was like, something happened there.
Yeah.
I looked at my notes and I had 1 year and then I had 2 years.
Right. But at the end, we went with 2 years because why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the amended notes, minutes from the September meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Uh,
And I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Excellent. Aye.
Now, are we going early next month? On the 15th, is Thanksgiving on the
Yeah.
23rd? Or
So
the-
you're-
So we the Wednesday before, a Thursday.
So we're going on Thursday.
Oh, we are going early. Okay.
Okay.
And everyone, you guys.
Well, I'm not doing the decision now, because I have a short week.